Good morning, everybody.
Good morning, good morning.
Stand down there.
She didn't have a bio. Who are you?
All right, so I'm Kevin Blanks, if y'all didn't already know, and owner, operator of Superior Spray Service. Been in business for 14 years. A little bit about myself, I've been married to my wonderful wife Melanie for a little over 21 years. We have no children, thank goodness. It's because of me, not her. I was a terrible child growing up, and my dad always said, I hope you have a son just like you. So I took care of that. Our two children are Maggie and Sydney. They're our dogs, and we just absolutely adore them. And as you know, I love to travel, and I'm hoping to teach Justin the ins and outs of traveling so he can fulfill his lifelong goal there. So last time I spoke, a few months ago, I talked a little bit about how I got into the business and talked about lawns and indoor pest control. So this week I thought I'd talk about several of the other things that we offer. One of the things that really kind of sets us apart from most of the other pest control companies in town is that we've diversified our services so that we don't just focus on one particular area. And what I've done is I've actually hired people that are experts in that particular field. So for instance, for the indoor, Seth is an expert in that field. So I've hired him and put him in that position so that I've got people that are very knowledgeable in the trade rather than just hiring people that have no experience whatsoever. And things that we offer are things that most companies don't offer, such as aeration, the soil samples we talked about, and also the tree injections. I've talked about tree injections a couple times in our 1-minute presentation. And trees are one of the biggest selling points on a piece of property. You can have beautiful oak trees or beautiful palm trees or other trees on the property, and they add a tremendous amount of value to a house. You take a 75 to 100-year-old oak tree, we could never replace that in our lifespan. And if you were to lose that tree, it would really decrease the value of that property. So we offer tree injections, but it allows us to fertilize the tree, protect it against insects, protect it against disease. Things that are prevalent here in Central Florida, you have sudden oak death or sudden oak disease. There's tree borers that actually bring disease into the tree. And these are things that we will inject the tree and protect it against. And basically what we do is we drill small holes into the tree, put a plug in it, and actually inject the product through this plug that's kind of like an IV bag. If you ever have seen an IV bag, it has like that rubber grommet, and we inject the needle into that grommet, directly inject the product into the vascular system of the tree. And the nice thing about that is you have zero exposure to the environment as far as overspray. If you're on a waterway, a lake, a canal, this product can be used and there's zero impact on the rest of the environment. If there's children playing in the yard, children playing in the yard down the street, there's no problem whatsoever. So we're real big advocates on tree injection. We use the ArborJet system. It was designed by arborists for the tree industry. And originally it was designed up in the Midwest where they have the emerald, I can't think of it. Anyways, it's a boar that has decimated the trees up north. The elm, thank you. The elm tree, yes. And but they've also designed it regional specific. So in other words, like the palm trees that we have down here have problems like Fusarium wilt, the Texas Phoenix palm decline, various other diseases that are attacking our palm trees here. So the problem that most people run into is they call us once the tree has a problem. Once the tree has a problem, there's really nothing you can do about it. So we kind of offer it as an insurance policy. Let's treat your tree now while it's still healthy so that it stays healthy. Once a palm tree gets a disease, it's a death sentence. You might as well cut the tree down. The other thing that we offer is aquatic spraying. Most pest control companies locally don't offer aquatic spraying. And this is something that it's just another tool in our toolbox, so to speak. When a homeowner buys a piece of property close to a lake, they like to have a nice beachfront. Maybe have their kids playing out on the yard and not have a bunch of weeds on the lake there where snakes and stuff can harbor. So we also offer aquatic spraying for our customers. And lastly, I want to talk briefly about our termite. This is our newest area that we've started working with. We've hired a gentleman that he's been in the termite industry for 18 years. So I look at him as an expert in the field. We're real happy to have him with us. And I wanted to talk briefly about termites. Termites are a social insect, and they form colonies. And depending on the type of termite that it is, they can have upwards from 2,500 termites to over millions of termites within that colony. And just a couple of fun facts about termites, if there can be a fun fact. In Singapore, they have termites that are 2 inches long, and the queen is considered a treat. And what they do is they actually dip it in alcohol while it's still alive, and they eat the termite.
Not close Singapore.
What's that?
I'm not close Singapore.
The total weight of all the termites in the world is more than all the weight of the humans. In fact, for every human, it's estimated there's 1,000 pounds of termites in the world. Wow. And there are termites found in every state except Alaska. So the bottom line is...
What's that tell you?
Bottom line is, unless you want to move to Alaska, chances are you might get termites in your property. Termites, they eat nonstop, 24 hours a day. Never sleep, they just constantly are eating. So they're known as the silent destroyer. There's over 2,000 species of termites that do over $5 billion in damage each year. So it's definitely something that all of us should be not totally concerned about, but think about from time to time. Here in Florida, we have 4 main termites. We have what's called the dampwood termite, and they feed, as it sounds like, on moist wood. Now, this isn't a termite we run across a lot. It's not one of the most popular ones. There's a couple things you can do to make sure that you don't have the dampwood termite. One, make sure your house isn't damp. If you have a roof leak, get with David, make sure you fix that. And if there's damp wood there, make sure they take that wood out. If you have a plumbing leak, make sure you call Fred, because these are the 2 areas that you're going to find the dampwood termite is where you have plumbing and roof leaks. Second of all, we have the drywood termite. This is one that we run across a lot here in Central Florida. The colonies have about 2,500 members, and they eat wood, wallpaper, plastic. They eat fabric that's made from plants. So if you have anything like bamboo or something in your house, they'll eat that. And of course, they're found in dry wood. They don't require moisture. So that's one of the things that kind of makes them unique to the other termites, is that the other termites have to have moisture. And they cause a tremendous amount of damage in wood, because what happens is they actually get into the wood itself, and they can eat inside and never touch the face of the wood. So you can think your house is fine, and before you know it, they've eaten a section of a support beam or a floor joist or a truss or something, and it looks completely fine, but you can stick your finger completely through it. So this is definitely something that if you start to see wings in your house, or if you start to see frass of any sort, you definitely want to get that checked and treated as needed. We went to a house a couple weeks ago, and they had beautiful hardwood floors, and the house was empty. It was under contract, and the house is probably about 2,500 square foot, and there were little piles of frass everywhere. So that hardwood floor was just being decimated by drywood termites. Next is the Formosan. Which time we got? Okay. Next is the Formosan termite. Now, these colonies that can stretch up to 300 feet. So if you can picture a football field all around you, the distance of a football field, that's how big these colonies can be. And the Formosan termite can have millions of termites. They're very aggressive. And the prevention on them is to make sure that the water drains away from your house. Inspect your home on a regular basis to look for tubes, bubbling paint on the side of the house. And one of the biggest things that we find in Central Florida, we have fireplaces that you might use once a year, and they stack wood right up against the side of the house. And that wood is drying out. You want to season that wood. You want to make sure it's dry so that next year, when you have that one day that you burn the fireplace, that wood is nice and dry. But guess what? Guess what else likes that dry wood? It's these termites. So we find that when people stack wood up against the side of the house, that generally they're going to have a termite issue. Lastly, we run across the subterranean termite. Their colonies can have up to 2 million termites. And again, their diet is wood, wallpaper, plastic, fabric made from plants. And they need to have contact with the soil in order to survive. So they will actually build these mud tubes that go up the side of the house or inside the house, so that they always have access to the ground where they get their moisture. Now their biggest enemy is ants. So if you have ants in a property and their mud tube gets disturbed, then you generally will they'll kind of control things. But some of the best things to do is one, to have a regular inspection, at least yearly. We don't charge for the actual inspection unless it's WDO. And the only reason we charge for WDO is because there's insurance liabilities that are involved, so we have to pay for that. But things to do as preventative is make sure water drains away from your house. And that's for anything. I mean, that's even for in construction. We want to make sure that if you do have standing water, that you eliminate that. And also to make sure you don't have wood sitting next to your house. So that's my time. Appreciate it. I'm Kevin with Superior Spray Service. We are licensed to kill.